Let's take a look at postulate 131, called the protractor postulate. Given a line AB and a point O on AB, all rays can be drawn from O can be put into a 1-to-1 correspondence with the real numbers from 0 to 180 degrees. Basically, remember our ruler postulate, which was a very simple concept? Well, the protractor postulate really is a simple concept too, even though it sounds complicated. What it basically says is that if you have an angle, you can apply, boom, a measure to that angle using a protractor. So the same way that you can measure distances with rulers, you can measure angles with protractors. And that's the protractor postulate. Well, in this video, I have an acute angle, an angle that's less than 90 degrees, and I'm going to show you how to measure this acute angle with a protractor. So first thing I have to do is grab my protractor and take the center piece, which is at the 3-inch mark, and put it directly on the vertex. Now the opposite side here of this ray, or not, excuse me, not the opposite side, but the arm of this ray has to be lined up with this side of the protractor. So what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to rotate my protractor and line it up as best as I can with the arm there of the angle. Putting as best as I can this center line right here at the vertex, and now I'm ready to try and measure the angle. So we've got our angle. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. It may mess with the video for just a little bit here. But after zooming in, we notice that our angle is just above the 60 mark. So it's at 61 degrees. We look at the inner track of numbers when we're measuring from right to left. And so this right here, this angle is approximately 61 degrees. You will never be able to tell me if something is more than, for example, let's say for example, you'll never be able to say, hey, this angle is 61.45 degrees. You just can't do it. At most, you'll be able to take it to the tens place. So perhaps this angle is 60.5 degrees. But in this case, we're going to round up. Okay, now what I have is an obtuse angle, and I need to be able to measure the obtuse angle. So let's center the obtuse angle here and put this right in the center. Now I'm going to take my protractor, and again at the halfway mark, I'm going to put that there so that it's on the vertex. And then what I've got to do is I've got to rotate my protractor as best as I can so that this lines up with the opposite side. Put that back on the center mark, and now I'm ready to go ahead and see what we've got for our angle. This is definitely obtuse because it goes greater than 90 degrees. So we look at the inner track of numbers, and it seems like we pretty much land on the 130 mark. So this is 130 degrees for this angle. In this part, I have what appears to be a right angle. But unless we're told specifically, either from the picture or in the instructions, that it's a 90-degree angle, I can't assume it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our protractor, and again, we're going to put this on the center mark. But notice that this opposite side isn't really lined up very well with the center mark. And with this edge here, it kind of goes underneath it. So now I'm going to have to take my protractor, and I am going to have to rotate this just a little bit to make this line up. And there we go. So now we've got that lined up. And so basically, now that we're looking at this, it seems to me that the measure here is actually 91 degrees. So this angle is actually obtuse, even though it really doesn't look like it. So again, you can't assume an angle is 90 degrees. You can't assume it's a right angle unless you're told specifically, either from the picture or in the instructions. Alright, well that's just a couple basics on how to use a protractor. God bless you, and I'll see you in class. Well, what types of angles do we have? Well, let's look at the kinds of flavors of angles that we have. The first one is called acute. An acute angle is just an angle that's less than 90 degrees. The next one is called a right angle, and a right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Notice the little box in the lower left-hand corner of that angle? If that was not there, I would have no ability to say with 100% that that was a right angle. What would stop it from being 90.5 degrees or 90.1 degrees? That's what that little box tells me. That little box says, hey, that angle is 90 degrees. The other kind of angle that you have is called obtuse. An obtuse angle is an angle that's greater than 90 degrees. And then the last kind is called straight. A straight angle is an angle that is exactly equal to 180 degrees. By the way, all lines are straight angles.